that he planned to raid, a small group of Silver Jedi remaining, and with the Silver Jedi was the final piece that he had ever existed to begin with, a journal, one containing all the information of his creation and the story of the Silver Jedi. The very last entry would read this: "We never should have tried." Luckily, though, the New Republic investigators caught up to the vampire in the stronghold and managed to take him down after a grueling final battle, as he was unable to destroy the final bit of evidence of his creation. And thus, the story of Tel Angor would come to an end. The Jedi Order carries many secrets they don't want revealed, and this is definitely one of them. It's not surprising that we've never heard of the Order of Silver Jedi before now, as it was clear that Tel Angor did everything he could to wipe all trace of their existence from all star maps so that no one would know who or what he really was. It's a shame and a tragedy that a man of righteousness and devotion against evil would become such a vile abomination in pursuit of the light side. Many ask why the Jedi didn't experiment with the Force like the Sith do, and this is a perfect example as to why. The Jedi know the secrets of life itself, as they serve the side of the Force that has everything to do with life. When the knowledge is used for power, only devastation lies in wait. I personally actually love this story a great deal. The Sith are always a cool read when it comes to the dark side and dark side-based villains, but this offers a refreshing take on another dark side villain. A group of Force vampires born from the dark side would definitely be a very interesting way to go. Star Wars is known for adapting different genres into the galaxy far, far away, so imagine a Dracula-like story with an old monster movie sort of vibe, or perhaps even just Van Helsing as a Jedi, hunting down a dark side abomination. I have always felt that horror and Star Wars go masterfully together, and one day I would love to see a project revolving around the horror genre. But anyway, friends, what made Darth Maul's ship the deadliest of its era? Greetings, Acolytes, and welcome back to the archives. Although seen only briefly, the Scimitar might be one of the most important ships of the Republic Classic era. Used by Maul during his apprenticeship under Sidious, the Scimitar was the perfect ship for someone of Maul's particular skill set. It was incredibly stealthy, highly experimental, fast, and horrific. For many, the Scimitar and its beauty would be the last thing that they ever saw. But what in particular made this ship so dangerous? It wouldn't be until after Maul's supposed death on Naboo that the Jedi would inspect the Scimitar and find that it was...
What's up, Mama? If you hear gunshots, we are at war with another planet. Okay, cool. Just tell me. Yeah, okay. What's the baby coming? Oh, good. Yeah.
Riddled top to bottom with Sith technology. And not only that, but that the ship was also apparently alive, powered by the dark side itself. This makes the Scimitar something of a prized Sith artifact, and the only one of its kind. So join us today as we analyze the ship that flew under everyone's radar and nearly made a member of the Jedi Council fall to the dark side. Omicron. Here, when Lando, Chewbacca, and Nien Nunb were in the Falcon and on the run from the TIE fighters after pulling a rebel attack on Coruscant, the Empire chases them down into the underlevels of the city, where the Falcon just barely escaped being swallowed whole, one easily the size of an exogorth. It had giant tentacles and teeth the length of the Falcon itself. Its hide was thick, and it didn't even flinch when a TIE fighter crashed right into the side of its mouth. It feels insane that a monster easily the size of 2 Star Destroyers actually lives beneath the city of Coruscant, proving the underlevels of the city are truly a nightmare realm. So, my friends, this planet of Coruscant is easily one of the most interesting places in all of the lore. What many people do not know is that Coruscant is actually roughly the size of Earth. However, unlike Earth, Coruscant roughly has 3 trillion members of its population, despite an official census that was taken just following the Clone Wars, which put the number at roughly 1 trillion. However, many believe that this number was incorrect. The census that was taken actually did not include temporary workers, transients, unregistered registered residents, or people living in other orbital facilities. This would put it roughly around 430 times Earth's current population as of 2024. Roughly 70% of Coruscant is made up of humans. In fact, humans are believed to have originated from Coruscant, and the other 30% is known as other sentient life forms. However, exactly how this is classified is unclear. Something interesting about Coruscant is how it is viewed by the Greater Republic. Many believe that it is the core of the government. It is not a place to be vacationed, sunbathed, or a location that is worth sightseeing. It is a place of pure business. Its environment is extremely unique, as it is made up of orbital mirrors, which were set up that would reflect the sun's warmth and light, reflecting it back at Coruscant during daylight hours. In Legends continuity, Coruscant actually did have naturally occurring storms, with it being recorded in the year 3 ABY that there were thunderstorms and rain on the city planet. However, in canon, the weather is artificially maintained, meaning everything was either controlled centrally by the Republic or by the Empire. Coruscant originally had a big problem. Its sun was not very large, which meant that the planet was not particularly habitable, and many species could not naturally live there. Coruscant also ran into a different problem, as its gigantic buildings created unusual and unpredictable microclimates, which caused varying degrees of temperature and air pressure between the higher and the lower altitudes within the tallest of Coruscant's buildings. When it came to air, there was a different problem. The upper levels of Coruscant were of course filtered, but there are 5,000 plus levels on the city planet. Essentially, the higher up you lived was marked by your air quality. The rich, the influential, and the wealthy had near perfect air. However, those that were left in the undercity, buried and forgotten, leveled by the trillions of pounds of waste that Coruscant produces every single day. The air was considered to be barely breathable. Toxic fumes produced by millennia of the planet-wide cityscape's vehicle and factory waste, all of that compounded on the poor. Many of the most influential and richest citizens didn't even breathe air at all, but rather a form of purified gas was their preference. Many people would even bring their own private air supply, not trusting the conditions of Coruscant. But there was yet another problem. The countless life forms produced a massive amount of carbon dioxide and heat. Because of this, Coruscant required thousands of atmospheric dampeners, those that were stationed in the atmosphere in order to prevent it from falling apart completely. Initially, this was developed by the Galactic Republic and was known as the Coruscant Atmospheric Reclamation Project. Those that lived above were terrified of those that lived below. They were cannibalistic criminals. In fact, many of them had been banished there hundreds, if not thousands of years ago. They had grown into monstrosities, mutants, and they were extremely dangerous. But there was something deep within Coruscant that the people needed, and that was the power relay. Stations deep within Coruscant where billions upon billions of pounds of debris that was previously buildings lay, their foundations cracked, housing rats, mutants of different varieties, and yet still distributing power to the surface of the world. Life on Coruscant varies drastically. Many believe it is the place of democracy and only a place of the rich. However, it also houses the most dangerous people in